Right? So this is the stage of taking flight, you can say, spiritually taking flight. That when a person's understood and done their best to embody the rest of what was in the Book of Assistance, then this last part, particularly this selection that Imam Haddad's chosen, this one here, it gives us that comfort and that reassurance and that security that it's going to be all right. It's okay. It doesn't matter if you lose friends. That's normal. If people don't support you in what you're doing, don't support you in your pursuit, even if it's a worldly pursuit, even if you want to, whatever, buy a particular car, you're like, nah, don't get that car, this, that, and they keep telling you, keep reinforcing, you start to move away from that individual, because the belief is not about the car. The belief is about what's in one's best interest. And then a person will start to think that, oh, this person isn't acting in my best interest. This person doesn't have my best interests at heart, but in fact they've got their own best interests or an ulterior motive, or they don't understand me as a person, they don't understand my situation, they don't understand what I'm going through, whatever. And when we find people don't understand us and who we are and what we're doing, then we tend to move away from those individuals. No. Right? So that's a haqq al-yaqeen, is when a person passes. So that statement's about enjoying the journey. If we're always worried about the result and the goal, that's all we've got. We should have a goal. There's no doubt about it. But if that's the only thing that's in our mind, imagine if you went to work every day and every minute of every day you counted, I get paid on Thursday. I get paid on Thursday. Or every minute I earn 60 cents. Imagine that. How would your life be? How would your state of mind be? You'd lose your mind, right? So imagine in the affairs of this world that we're always thinking about the goal. Oh yeah, I want to get married. Yeah, I want to have a child. Yeah, I want to go to university. Yeah, I want to get this car. And it constantly goes on in our minds. And that's what's happening to us, because we're constantly being reminded to be consumers. We're constantly now the research says that 99% of things people buy, 99% of things that people buy, within 6 months they end up throwing it out. 99%. That means everything, really. 1% is almost a nominal. That means we don't keep things for more than 6 months. That means we're just following our whims and our fancies. So if we're going to constantly worry about those things, and they only last for 6 months at a maximum, whereas we should be thinking of the eternal, the thing that lasts forever. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right. Anything else? Can anyone recall from last time?
Just one last thing. We feel comfort when we remember Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He said to come after people.
Right. Tadhkurullah yadhkurukum. Right. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lakum dhunubakum, and Allah Azza wa Jalla forgive your sins as well for doing that. So Allah Azza wa Jalla is talking to us about that, because the person who goes to Him subhanahu wa ta'ala is really going to end up on their own in terms of who's around them, except if they have companions who remind them of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as one travels the path, you find less and less people willing to make that sacrifice. People would prefer that 6 months than the eternal life. People would prefer the ephemeral to the spiritual. People would prefer the terrestrial to the celestial. So that they're not interested in these things, because it's hard. It's not easy. And it's not going with the flow. That's not what the world's telling us, especially in the consumer material society in which we live in today. The world isn't telling us, be spiritual. Actually, that's the last thing the world's telling us. The world's telling us, look, we're not even spiritual. We're just evolved. Just came out of nothing. So that means we're dirt, really, or whatever you want to call it. We don't have any spiritual aspect to us whatsoever. That's what that means. If we abide by the theory of evolution, then we're saying that, not to say that things don't evolve, they do. We're not saying that. But the theory that we came from nothing and we weren't created by a creator, what do they call it? Intelligent design. So if we abide by the theory of evolution from nothing rather than intelligent design, then we're saying we have no spirit. We're saying we have no otherworldly aspect to us, and that's what we're constantly being told. And so no one likes to go against the grain. You don't want to go to somewhere everyone's wearing black and you're wearing white. You don't want to go somewhere everyone's short and you're tall. You don't want to go to somewhere everyone's hungry and they're eating and you're full. It's not comfortable. People were not comfortable in those sorts of situations. So, that's why less and less people tend to travel those paths, or the paths. Less and less people do it. So as you progress in that path, you're going to find less and less people around you, less you associate yourself with the same like-minded people who are progressing on the path as you intend to. Or any questions about any of that? الحمد لله رب العالمين حمدا يوافي نعمه ويكافئ مزيدا والصلاة والسلام على خير الأنام وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم إننا ولا نتعلم التعليم والتذكر والتفكير والنفع والانتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والدعاء إلى الهدى والدلالة على الخير والحق والتمسك على كتاب الله وسنة رسول الله وابتغاء مرضات الله وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى. Praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the beneficent bestower of bounties and favours. We ask Him, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we praise Him and praise is worthy of a creator and a sustainer and a destroyer. And we ask our Lord Most High to send copious and eternal blessings and salutations in this blessed month of Rabi al-Awwal and always, and eternally and everlasting salutations and blessings upon our beloved Prophet Sayyidina Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, amma ba'd. And we acknowledge the traditional owners of the land in which we teach and learn, and we pay our respects to their elders past and present. So if we continue, inshallah azza wa jal, with the Book of Assistance, and we're in the last couple of pages, I think, of the whole of the text, bi'idhnillah azza wa jal, a few pages. And as we remind ourselves in this last, the ultimate chapter, the concluding chapter of the Book of Assistance, that Imam al-Haddad is reminding us of the ways of the awwaleen, as they're called, those that came before us, the prior nations, and the nations that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent revelation to and sent prophets to alayhim as-salam ajma'een, so that we can understand that this is not something new. This is not something that human beings, we live in a different time and a different age. Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. But there was people who were wealthy, like it's just a repetition. Qarun, right? Qarun, I don't know what his name is in English, but he had 70 camels to carry the keys, that opened all the doors to his wealth. And then Qarun, the people said, we wish we're like Qarun. And then the earth swallowed him up, and he disappeared. And some of the narrations say the earth is still swallowing him up from that time until now. And so, seeking to have power, pharaohs, etc., Nimrod, and all the different people seeking to control the Pharisees and all these different types of people that went against Sayyidina Isa alayhi salam. It's nothing new. It's nothing, And what happens at the end of times, in other words, at the end of the risala of each prophet or each nabi, they were all sent to particular people, Bani Israel, for example, Sayyidina Isa and Sayyidina Musa. Most were sent to Bani Israel. So at the end of that time period before the next prophet came, that's when things really, the wheels fell off, as they say. Right towards the end, before the next prophet, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent a renewer, things were really, really bad. And that's the time when we live in that kind of a time, but there's no more prophet coming back. We live in the end of times. Akhir al-Zaman, Awakhir al-Zaman, which is the last bit before the end of times. And so, of course, things are bad now, but all the things that are going on now have gone on previously. There's nothing, new, so to speak, in that sense. It's all the same things being repeated. And so Imam al-Haddad reminds us of how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala spoke to other peoples, other aqwam, other qawms or aqwam, that we may know that this is a repetition. And those of the ones of those different aqwam that reached salvation, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala emancipated from the hellfire, we follow their paths. We don't divide between the rusul. We don't say, we like this Rasul. Of course, the Prophet Muhammad, yes, but they're all in the same vein. They're all in the same vein, the prophets. Not like others, that talk about the prophets. They talk about, astaghfirullah al-azim, this prophet doing zina, and this prophet killing and stuff that's amazing, not amazing is the word, stuff that's just completely blasphemous and completely unbefitting the prophets, alayhim as-salam ajma'een. So Imam Haddad's reminding us that People like Sayyidina Dawood, Sayyidina Musa, and Sayyidina Isa, they were sent to their people who suffered the same sort of tribulations and trials that we're facing. And that the same techniques that they use, we use bi'idhnillah to escape the difficulties that we face. He says, Rahimahullah subhanahu wa ta'ala radiyallahu anhu wa ankum nafana bihi wa bikum wa awha Allahu ila Dawood alayhi salam, Ya Dawood, كل أولياء وأحباء ليفارقوا كل واحد منهم صاحبه فإني مؤنسهم بذكري. We read that last week. He says ومحادثهم بأنسي وكاشف الحجاب فيما بيني وبينهم ينظرون إلى عظمتي. So he says to Sayyidina Dawood, he says, say to my awliya, my friends and those who are beloved to me, that leave those كل واحد منهم صاحبة. Every one of them, each individual one of you should leave. Oh, sorry, I've got it in English now. So what page is it on? It's 131.
Yeah.
The last paragraph. He said, and God revealed to David, upon whom be peace. O David, tell my friends and beloved ones. So friends is awliya, and really it should be saints. Friends is, okay, that's the colloquial word for it, wali, you know, but in this context it means the saints. The ones that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given a station to. That's what a wali is. A wilaya is the station, and a wali is the one who is the, so to speak, person on that station. A level, if you like. He said, forsake their companions. In other words, your companions, they're not really going to do anything for you. Yeah, as the hadith says, if all of humankind and jinkind got together to benefit you with something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hadn't written a benefit for you in, could they benefit you? No. And vice versa, if they all got together to detriment you, could they detriment you? No. So just no, that's what the hadith says. The hadith says just no. No, don't stress about all that stuff. Don't worry about it. Know that it's Allah Azza wa Jalla who controls these things, and turn to Him for whatever you need. He says, for I shall comfort them with my remembrance. And as we said, it's the end of time. What do you think is going to happen at the end of time? At the end of time, there's going to be no food. I know we don't feel it now, but things are changing. Things are just starting to change. Things are going from one to another. From one state to another state. And soon, very shortly, you're not going to be able to have your chai latte. Caramel chai latte, mind you. It's the luxury life that we lead, the life of extra, the life of leisure, the life of comfort is going to go. Unless you want to be with the Dajjal. That's the reality. And we need to get ourselves ready spiritually. And that's what he says. He says here, subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, فَإِنِّي مُؤْنِسَهُمْ بِذِكْرِ. Al-uns, the comfort. It's more than that, actually. It is a comfort in this, that's kind of what it means. But uns is the basis of insan, intimacy. The word insan comes from the word uns. Because we're social creatures, we have to hang out together. People, what happens to people when they're alone on islands and things? Yeah, they go crazy. What do they start doing? They start talking to themselves. Because that's how we're made. We have to have, Sayyidina Adam's the better example than people on the islands, alayhi salam. He was in Jannah. Yeah, what's up to iPhone 10? You could have had iPhone 10,000 if you wanted. Whatever he wants in Jannah, except وَلَا تَقْرَبَ هَذِهِ الشَّجَرَةِ. Don't get close to this tree. But he wasn't happy because he needed a partner, he needed a companion, someone to rely on, someone to talk to, someone to share his emotional situation and state with, someone to take counsel from. Uns, intimacy, because that's how we're made. We're made to be intimate. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying is, what he's saying there is, فَإِنِّي مُؤْنِسُهُمْ. What's the intimacy between the abd, the servant, and his Lord or her Lord? Dhikr. And at the end of times, when there's no more comfort, when there's no more food, when there's no more, unless you're with the Dajjal, how will the believers live? How will they eat? Dhikr. With the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it's an uns, not only an emotional uns and comfort, but it's a comfort of physical comfort at that time. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when the asbab, when the causes that we have disappear, so when the Sahaba, they couldn't go to a particular place where they didn't have ships, they walked on the water. They walked on water. When they didn't have armories and weaponry to destroy castles and things, they said Allahu Akbar and the castles would shake and crumble to the ground. That's the iman they had in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that dhikr, and look, I've heard people talk about it. I've heard doctors talk about the monks, right? They live up in the mountains, they're exposed to the sun and natural elements, and they don't eat for days and weeks. They don't eat for weeks. And there's doctors who talk about these guys, which is freaky. People of science saying, yes, this thing can exist. And we're like freaking out. But remember, 10 years ago, when you used to fast, what do people... I remember 25 years, 30 years ago when we used to fast, people used to think we were crazy. Now if you go to the doctor, they'll tell you intermittent fasting. You don't eat after sunrise, after sunset, and then don't have breakfast and eat 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. Now it's normal, it's accepted, because the research has come to the point where the divine revelation is already exposed. And now we're up to that next stage. Yeah? That's what these people are talking about. They're talking about that the light from the sun... I'm not a science person to know the exact chemical reactions that go on. But the chemical reactions go on with the skin by exposure to the sun, similar to trees and photosynthesis. That's the way they explain the lay way to people who are not science-based people like me. And that's how they live, these people. But they're in a meditative state. They're in a state of completely being in tune with nature. I'm talking about monks, not Muslims. Monks that live up in the mountains in Tibet and the Himalayas and different places all throughout the world. In India and all these people that live like that. So there's a scientific reality to that. We go, dhikr, that's us. Because why? Because we live a life of comfort. We don't know what it really means to be hungry. We don't know what it doesn't mean, what it means not to eat for 2 days. 2 days, I'm going to die, man. The body can go weeks without food. Weeks without food. Imagine thinking of not eating for 2 days. Just thinking about it stresses us out. What do you mean? Not eat? Why? Why wouldn't I eat for 2 days? It's such a foreign concept to us. Yet the majority of people, they don't eat 2 days in a row in the world. The majority of people don't. That's us. We eat 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times a day with snacks, with drinks, with teas, alhamdulillah, with coffees, alhamdulillah, ni'mah, alhamdulillah. And if we have the intention that we're getting our body strong to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to bring justice into the world, then we get the reward for that. But the point being is there's a biological and a scientific basis for that prophetic tradition that doctors and people who are experts in the field are talking about. So when these things get uncovered, it means it's just around the corner. Does that make sense to you? When things in science get uncovered from the divine revelations, that means wake up, people. It means it's not that long. And so we have to be ready by being near to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and finding comfort, because as the time progresses and as the time of the Dajjal comes nearer, those who are close to you, those who you consider your friends, those who you consider your confidants, those you consider your BFFs, your family, your workmates, people that you love, Allahu alim if they're going to be on that path. Allah knows if they're going to be on that way. And then where are you going to get your comfort from? Where's one going to find intimacy when they had maybe a wife, maybe a husband, maybe a brother, maybe a sister, maybe a mother, maybe a father, maybe a son, maybe a daughter? And then if a person keeps the attachment to those individuals, guess where they're going to go? They call it peer group pressure, exactly. With them. What are you going to go there for? You're going to go to the mountain. Are you stupid? Aqawil, that's asatir al-awwaleen. That's what they say in the Qur'an. Asatir, that's just the lines of those who came back. It's just, don't take it literally. Don't take it literally. It's for another time. That's what people are going to say to you. Muslims. And people are going to get up on the minbar and going to say that. People are going to get up on the minbar and on your Facebook, on your social media feed, you're going to see the guys with imamas and beards saying, what are you talking about? This is the guy we've been waiting for. And who is it? It's the Dajjal. So the uns, the intimacy, that we have to start building that with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have to start building that. And in the grave, what's in the grave? Ahwal al-qabr, they say. Ahwal, not ahwal, ahwal. It's even worse. It's even more difficult. The circumstances are even more unbearable. If we don't have uns billah, then when are we going to have it? When there's no one around, and the earth squeezes us until one's ribs crash into the other ribs. That we need it. Not only we may not see the Dajjal, but we're going to see the grave. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about that. And if we don't have that uns billah, because of the things we did in this world, it's not going to come later on. It's not like, you order it online and later on it comes. That's not how it is. It has to be cultivated now. It has to be cultivated now with the deeds that are required from Allah Azza wa Jal and by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So then he says, وَمُحَادِثَهُمْ بِأُنْسِهِ, and then speak to them intimately. So that's the ilham that we've been speaking about for a while. That when a person follows the general rules of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's the sharia. Yeah? That's the general rules. Then a person goes to the next level, which is haqiqah. That's the reality. When that person goes to the stage of reality, they have a one-on-one connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When the Sahaba, when they went to the Bahrain, they walked on the water, the Amir straight away turned to the army and he said, does anyone in the army have any major sins? Kaba'ir, zina, backbiting, namima, using interest, all these things. If anyone did that to make tawbah, then he ordered the whole army to make 2 rakat tawbah from all their sins. Because sins are what drag us down. Sins are that block between us and the intimacy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the harboring of sins, not just the performance of sins. Yeah? Not just the performance, but the love of a sin. If I love a sin, if I've got a desire to, I don't know, smoke drugs or drink alcohol. That's my desire. I know I'm not going to do it, but I've got a desire. I want to try it. I want to try it. What is it like? What is it like to, take drugs? What is it like to drink alcohol? What is it like to be with someone of the opposite gender and do this and do that and do this? What's the feeling? If I'm connected to that one, it's also the same as sinning. In terms of my spiritual progression to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if I've got a whole bunch of those things that I'm connected to, then I'm in trouble. Because they're the anchors, they're the things that hold me down. They're the things that don't allow me to progress to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They're a block between me and intimacy with Allah. Because why? I'm intimate with myself. I'm intimate with my sins. I'm intimate with my whims. I'm intimate with my fancies. I'm intimate with my desires. I'm intimate with my own ego. Because I'm better than everyone. Why should I listen to anyone? I'm better. I know. I studied. I went. I saw. I came. I got money. I work. Anything anyone else can do, I can do it too. When A'udhu Billah. So that becomes a block for us. That blocks us from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That blocks us from getting that intimacy. And then if we don't have that intimacy, we're going to fail. It's a guarantee. We're going to fail. If not in this life, then when A'udhu Billah in the grave. So we don't want to be in that circumstance, bi'idhnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We want to be close enough to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by being free of sins, having taqwa, by being free of sins, and having our life filled with positive good deeds, inshallah, hasanat. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's, the inclinations, that intimacy with Allah, will feel what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants. It'll be like Allah's talking to us. He says, وَكَاشِفَ الْحِجَابِ فِيمَا بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَهُمْ وَيَنْظُرُونَ إِلَىٰ عَظَمَتِي. He says, and remove, and he's going to subhanahu wa ta'ala remove the veil between myself and them, that they may behold my glory. And that's it. Yeah? That's the ma'rifah. There's haqiqah, and then after that is ma'rifah. To know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to really know Allah azza wa jal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lifting the veil means that asbab won't be seen anymore. The sun rising and the light coming, we'll see the light coming from Allah, Noor as it's called. Noor. Right? We'll start to see the real light that lights up the earth. We'll start to see really how things in the earth work. Who's bringing the waves and who's responsible for that. And who's taking care of the mountains and keeping them firm where they are. And who's responsible for keeping the wild animals away from us? And who's responsible for keeping your teeth and your gums and your jaw and your fingernails and your fingers? You start to see the machinations in terms of the movements of the different things in the world that Allah Azza wa Jalla has created. We start to see the reality of the world and how it is. The reality of ourselves, first and foremost, and the reality of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the gloriousness of Allah. That's the honor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's how sublime Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is. And isn't that what we really want? When the verse, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveals, وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ, that the only reason I created humankind, jinn kind and humankind, is to worship me. Ibn Abbas, who's Hubr al-Ummah, he's the ink of the Ummah. He's, whatever he writes, he's a big shot in that regard. Yeah, whatever he writes has an effect on the Ummah because he's so learned. He said, لِيَعْرِفُونَ, to worship Allah is to know Allah. Mahak? Isn't that what the Prophet said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when the Jibreel asked him, he said, what is Iman? What is Islam? What is Iman? What is Ihsan? تَعْبُدُ اللَّهَ كَأَنَّكَ تَرَى وَإِن لَمْ تَكُنْ تَرَى فَأَنَّهُ يَرَاكَ. That a person worships Allah as though they see Allah. What does Imam Haddad say? To remove the veil between myself and them. Like, why aren't we going for that? Why is it such a big scary thing that people have put into our hearts and our minds? They're the guys that are getting up on the mumbar and say, oh no, he's alright. The people that are scaring you from this thing. People that are scaring you from seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the veils being lifted. Oh, bid'ah, oh, kaza, oh, kaza. What do you mean? It's the most sahih, like it's the main hadith that all the ulama use about knowledge. There's no question about hadith. What's it talking about? Lifting the veils between the worshipper and the worshipped subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we're not striving for that, what are we striving for? Behold my glory. He's talking to the people that he loves subhanahu wa ta'ala. The people who have given up intimacy with others for intimacy with him. You know that story about the two pious people? I forget who they were. One was from one lineage and one was from another. They got married on their wedding night. You know, the wife said, oh, just let me pray 2 rakat. And the husband said, I was going to do the same. And they prayed till the morning. That's on their honeymoon. And the same the next day. And. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't get married. Of course you should. Of course you should have intimacy. But there's a difference between the intimacy one has with another and an intimacy that one has with Allah Azza wa Jal. There's got to be time for that. There's got to be space in the heart for that. If there's no space in the heart for that, how, when you try and put things on your phone, I don't know what it does, I've never had a full phone, but whatever, I'm sure it gets full and it says no more hard disk space, or on your computer or whatever. It says, doesn't it? What does it say? It says something. Shouldn't have mentioned it. Right? So something goes on that says, that's it, it's full, no more room. There's no more room in here. There's no more room in here for Allah Azza wa Jal. How's he going to fit in? Those other things should have little compartments, and the whole heart should be for Allah. The whole heart should be for Allah. Aslan, we're not even allowed to love anyone but Allah. But it's through the love of Allah that we love the Prophet ﷺ, as he mentioned in the hadith. And it's through that love of the Prophet ﷺ that we love our mothers and our fathers and our brothers and our sisters and our uncles and our aunties and our children and our husbands and our wives. It's through that love. That's the real love. So like the guy that comes, or the sister that comes, they want to see someone for marriage. Oh, I didn't feel anything. I'll punch you in the stomach and you'll feel something. What do you mean you didn't feel anything? What do you want? You want to feel butterflies, or what is it, a roller coaster you're on? You're going to get married, Habibi. And then it's a contract, yeah? Isn't it a contract? Imagine if you went to the phone company and go, oh, sorry, I don't have the feeling. What are you talking about, that feeling? Job, employment contract. Oh, I'm just not feeling it. No, I'm just not feeling it. Just not feeling it. Oh, are you normal? Or what? That's not normal. That's not normal. If you feel it, that's a bonus. That's a bonus. Yeah? You're meeting someone to see if you're compatible. First and foremost, you have to be attracted to that person. If you're not physically attracted, then don't worry about it. If you're physically attracted to the person, find out what they're like, what they do, where they don't go, what they do, what they don't do, what they're about, what their goals in life are. Take your time. It's okay. It's okay. It's not like, sometimes it may be love at first sight, but that's not the requirement. That's not a requirement. What you're looking for is compatibility. That you're compatible with that person. Your life goals are similar, and that your upbringing is compatible with each other, and the life you want to lead is good. So if we don't leave room in our hearts for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we're never going to get it. It's not going to happen. If we're focused on other than Allah, that's all we're going to reach for Allah ta'ala. And he says, فأبلغ يا داود عني أهل الأرض أني حبيب لمن أحبني وجليس لمن جالسني ومؤنس لمن استأنس بي وصاحب لمن صاحبني ومطيع لمن أطاعني ومختار لمن اختاري. He says, O David, speak of me, O David, to the people of the earth, and tell them that I am the lover of the one who loves me. Shall I repeat that one? Or it's all right. I am the lover of the one who loves me. There's got to be room there for him. Subhanallah wa ta'ala. It's got to really be all for him. Then other things will come in there. Doesn't have to be there. The companion of the one who sits with me. Allah doesn't have a Facebook page, or social media. It's got the Qur'an and the prophets. The comfort of the one who seeks comfort in me. Doesn't need a 24-hour helpline where you call. Dua is there. Mawjood. The friend of the one who befriends me. Doesn't matter how many likes others are getting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there for the one who wants Allah. I obey the one who obeys me, and choose the one who chooses me. So come to be honoured by me. Yep. Right, so that's pretty straightforward, isn't it? Doesn't really need much explanation, does it? Are you sure? Okay? It's there for the taking. I suggest that everyone read that chapter this evening and tomorrow and every day. In the next one, it'll take you 3 minutes to read it. Or whatever, photo it on your phone if you haven't got the copy, and then read it. Read over it. Read that paragraph. If you can memorize it, memorize it. And he says, فَهَلُمُّ إِلَى كَرَامَتِي وَمُصَاحَبَتِي وَمُعَامَلَتِي فَأَنَا اللَّهُ الْجَوَادُ النَّاجِي أَقُولُ لِلشَّيْءٍ كُنْ فَيَكُونُ. It says, and choose the one who choose. So come to be honoured by me. Are you serious? Yeah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, come to me and I'll honour you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give you that nobility with you, subhanahu wa ta'ala. فَهَلُمُّ in Arabic doesn't mean come, it means rush. It means all of you together in a rush, like the shopping days that are coming up, that whatever it is. Oh, do we have that in Australia? Is that a thing here? Yeah, is that today, was it?
It's an online visit today.
Right, I mean like the Boxing Day sales and those kind of crazy things where people trample each other and all that. That's halummu. That's what halummu is. That's why I wanted to mention it. People go nuts and then two ladies grab the same thing, they rip it and they fight and they carry on, and people get hospitalised on those days. It's serious business. People, they got medical staff and first aid officers and stuff on standby because people just lose their minds. Buying stuff, they throw away what? Less than 6 months. Less than 6 months. But that's just what we've been conditioned to. That's our conditioning. So we have to recondition, uncondition ourselves from that and recondition ourselves for Allah Azza wa Jal. It says, come, keep my company and deal with me. For I am Allah, I am God, the liberal, the glorious. I say to a thing, be, and it is. What more does one have to be told by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It's not even in the books of the Prophet Muhammad or the Sahaba. This is older than that. It's from Sayyidina Dawood alayhi salam, the father of Sulaiman alayhi salam. Old. Very old. And that's what Allah Azza wa Jalla is saying. If you do these things with me, and you obey me, I'll obey you. Which means, obey Allah Azza wa Jalla, Allah will give you what you need. And even what you want. Subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because the person that obeys Allah, their desires and their whims, they're not, for things that are illicit or haram. They become for things that are beneficial in this life and particularly the next life. Said also it says وَأَوْحَى اللَّهُ إِلَى بَعْضِ أَنْبِيَائِهِ عَلَيْهِمُ السَّلَامُ عَبْدِي أَهَبْ لِي مِنْ عَيْنَيْكَ دَمُوعًا ومن قلبك الخشوع ثم ادعني أستجب لك وأنا القريب المجيب عبدي قف على المدائن والحصون وأبلغهم عني كلمتين قل لهم لا يأكلون إلا طيبا ولا يتكلمون إلا الحق وإذا أراد أحد منهم الدخول في أمر فليتدبر عاقبته فإن كان خيرا فليمضه وإن كان شرا فلا يأتي. He says, and God revealed to one of his prophets, upon all of whom be peace, servant of mine, give me the tears of your eyes and the reverence of your heart. Then call me, and I shall respond to you. For I am the near, the responsive. Servant of mine, go forth to the cities and the fortresses, and tell them two things on my behalf. Tell them to eat nothing but good or licit food, and to say nothing but the truth. And if one of them wishes to engage in an activity, let him think of its consequences. If these are good, then let him proceed. While if they are bad, then let him refrain. So again, this is a counsel that Allah Azza wa Jalla revealed to one of the prophets, as Imam Haddad shown to us, how the similarity of times is exactly reflective of our time, and the similitude of human beings is exactly the same as it is in our time. It's not something that we go, oh, we're the end of this and that. No, it's the same. He says, he revealed to one of his prophets, he said, give me the tears of your eyes. In other words, if a person really wants to get to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they have to sacrifice of themselves. They have to give their emotions. That's what tears are about, eh? When people get really happy and they laugh a lot, they cry. They have with laughter. And when people are really sad and despondent, they cry. Yeah? They're the two extremes. And both of them are tied with tears. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, use your emotions not for buying things and running off to shopping and going off at your mum and being upset with your sister, and someone wrongs you and you want to kill yourself, or you want to stab someone, or you want to leave the deen, or take off your hijab, or shave your beard, or stop praying. The things that come to our mind, we want to go against someone because they did something to us, or we want to overeat or undereat, or whatever the case is. Those melees that we have, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying is, leave those emotions. Don't worry about those things. Leave them for me. Whatever happens to you, good or bad, turn to me. Give me those tears and the reverence of your heart. In other words, don't revere anything. Don't put anything up on a pedestal but me, and that which is associated with me. Sha'a'illah, the symbols of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he says, then call me and I shall respond to you. So that's the condition. The eyes have to cry. And the heart has to be conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, He's near, أستجب لك وأنا القريب, the near, والمجيب, both. Al-Qarib al-Mujib. Adjective in the English language, they're connected to each other. He's the close and the responsive, both of those things together. I am the near, the responsive, servant of mine. He says, Abdi, qif ala madain. When you get to the cities, and wal-husun, the husun is the fortresses and the places of castles, and so now you might say it's those big tall buildings in the city, the glass buildings and things like that. I stay at those places and tell the people that abide in those places, that live in those places, two things on my behalf. So it's not from me, I don't really care. I'm just a servant. I'm just a messenger passing the message. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, tell them to eat nothing but good, illicit food. Because that's a condition of one's dua being accepted. If a person isn't eating halal, they've got nothing wrong with themselves. That's the first thing. And say nothing but the truth. Because if we're using our tongues inappropriately, as we know from the vices of the tongues that we studied, then when a'udhu billahi subhanahu wa ta'ala, all our deeds amount to nothing. And we might even have sins on top of that. And when a person's got more sins than good deeds, or major sins like talking You know, there are two things the Prophet ﷺ mentioned. He said, protect what's between your jaw and between your thighs, and I'll guarantee you Jannah. Yeah? Remember that hadith that we mentioned from the Prophet ﷺ? Right? So, the kaba'ir of the tongue will destroy a person's nearness with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And one should speak the truth only of Allah, really. And if one of them wishes to engage in an activity, let him think of its consequences. Now this is important for us in our emotional states, our fairy states, you know. We're really soft and, you know, anything can happen to us and we just go off the rails so quickly. But there's no more, julud, what's the word in English? We don't hold down, we don't hold our nerve anymore. Yeah? We don't hold our nerve. We can't hold our nerve anymore because why? Why do you think we can't hold our nerve? What do you reckon the story is?
So emotional.
Exactly correct, Barakallahu Feek. Because we're not holding our nerve in anything. We see it on the TV, get on the app, or deliver it. 20 minutes later, it's at your house. You don't have to leave your house anymore. It's like you know, it's like the time of Bani Israel when Allah Azza wa Jalla would just let the food come from the sky and man was salat. You know, it's like that now. You sit at home, you don't have to even call anyone, you don't have to speak to anyone. You know, that, bang bang, happy days. As they say, the food's there, whatever you want. You can even put a special order, extra this, not enough that, hold this. No worries. It's all good. It's all easy. When A'udhu subhanahu wa ta'ala. So, for us, we have to think about the consequences of our action. And because we can't hold our nerve, because our emotions are overtaking us, we can't say to ourselves no anymore. We lie to ourselves. Doctor said don't eat this. I have to eat it. Oh, I'm going to borrow this money to buy this car or this, you know, get on a plan. Oh, it's interest-free, Sheikh. Right? We get into the illicit things because we can't say no to ourselves. I'm going to wake up at this time and do this. I'm going to read this much Qur'an. I'm going to do this. Can't stop myself. I'm just on a roller coaster. That's why I need the feeling when I see it. You know, in the old days when people used to see rock stars and that, they used to faint. I don't know if it happens anymore. You know, but that's what people used to do because their emotion overcome them. The emotion overcame them. And their innate state shut down. That's what happens when a person's emotions overcome them. Their brain shuts down. And that person is so overcome that the reptilian, they call it the reptilian brain. That's this part here in the brainstem at the back that does our innate functions of breathing and heart beating and all these things. That's how emotional they get. They get so emotional that not only do they lose their cognitive thinking, but they lose their subconscious and they faint. The body says, no, that's too much. Reset, faint. That's pretty heavy duty. Pretty heavy duty. I can't remember what I was watching a documentary. I can't remember who it was. One of these bands was talking about it ages ago. They said on the concerts they used to have, there was no seats because people would just get up and dance. It became a hazard, like duty of care. People. Now the whole thing was up in stadiums. There was no seats whatsoever, and they said every concert, 5,000 people lost it like that. 5,000 people, and they had medics and first aid tents, and they had, you know, a lane in there so that people can be carried out and taken because they became overcome. They were overcome. They were overwhelmed by their own emotions. That's how we are today. You can't if you cross the line. Yeah, if you cross the line driving your car or go to cut someone off, there's a chance of getting killed today. Road rage. Just for doing that. Just for doing that, like nothing happened. No one cars got dented. It's just the ego. It's just all it is, the ego. People can be shot over these things. When they're killed over something that's just so when older than ours of a. So when we want to hold our nerve, most thing to ourselves, man. If you promise yourself something, you need to do it. If you make yourself a promise, I want to only drink 1 cup of coffee a day. I'm gonna sleep at this time every day. You've got to keep a promise, because if you lie to yourself, that's the biggest liar. That's the most treacherous person. That's the most... Imagine that you can't even trust yourself to make a promise to yourself. Imagine if someone else did that to you. Yeah? Imagine if someone broke promises to you like you break promises to yourself. Then you'd diss them back. There were reviews, put 0 stars and, blacklist them and whatever, block them and whatever, all that other stuff. Mahak or not? Would or you don't reckon you would? Someone said to you, oh, you don't reckon you would? You're not sure? Of course you would. You talk to everyone about him. Talk to everyone. Oh, so every time he tells me or she tells me he's going to do that, he's going to do this, blah, blah, blah. Don't believe him. Don't believe him. And we'll have a personal vendetta against that person. Believe me or don't believe me. Think next time when you promise yourself you're going to do something, it looks like sleep. That's the main one in the room at the moment. Yeah. Alright? Next time you promise you're going to sleep early and you don't, and the next day it's the same, and the day after that it's the same. Imagine it was someone else telling you, I'm going to meet you at that time. You lose it. You'll lose it. Once maybe okay, twice, 3, 7, 10, then what? Start sending abusive messages, or now they don't do that. People send abusive enjoys. Like whatever, the ugly face or the devil ears or whatever it is, What are you doing? What are you doing? How come you're treating me like this? I deserve to be treated better. Of course you do. Of course you deserve to be treated better. You deserve to be treated better by yourself. And we can't hold our nerve anymore because we can't tell ourselves no. We've got into that bad habit. So when we do something, we have to think of the consequences. Because we're in bad habits, that means we've got to give ourselves what? Time. You have to give yourself time. You can't be instant, rush, this, that. How many times have you done something rush, right? How many times have you done something rush, and you're like, when the thing comes like the food, you're like, I don't even actually feel like it. Now that it's here, I don't really want to eat this food. No, I don't really want to wear the shoes that I got because they're on sale, it's too much, or whatever. Then later on, I put them on, they're not even really that comfortable. They don't really go with anything I've got. They were just on sale. And the emotion of having it 50% off, 70% off, 80% off, 90% off, 90% off. Hey, so-and-so, come down. We're not calling you anymore, we just post it somewhere. Come down, it's 90% off. Yeah, the emotion of it all. Why do you think they play music at the shops? What do you reckon? Exactly. Because music's about what? Emotion, like the 5,000 people that fall apart when the concert's on. They want to get your emotions going. Oh, hi, how are you? Oh, you look great in that. So it suits you so much. So much. As if you're going to trust someone who their job is to sell you what you're trying to buy. Are you normal? Are you normal? It's the biggest conflict of interest ever. But because of the emotional and the lights, they're super bright. They daze you. You get dazed, the lights there. Like the rabbit, in the headlights, and the kangaroo that sees the headlights gets dazed. Can't move, that's it. It's frozen by the headlights. That's what happens to us. And what takes over? Our emotions. All set up that way. All of it's set up. When you walk past the shop, what do you see? Everything's on display. Because it's the emotion going. That's the technique. That's the technique. Bright colours as well when you go there. It's all bright colours. And the people are all beautiful people that work there. They dress nice, they smell nice, they talk nice, they smile nice. Because it gets the emotion going. So if we can't stop that, we can't break that connection, we're always going to be lying to ourselves. So we have to think about the consequences of doing something. When I'm about to do it, I've got to give myself time to do it. Because if I'm doing it in the rush, and then later on it's no good, and if it says, sorry, you can't return it, or whatever the case might be, well, what do you end up doing with that stuff? What do you do with it? What happens when you buy something no one wants to say it? I go, no, I don't do that. That's not me. What do you do with it? Huh? Just throw it out, eh? You know? Give it to someone who what?
You give it to Sabila.
Yeah, alright, yeah. So we'll go with that one, right? So we give it to Sabila.
You bought it? you hoard it
Right?
until you feel guilty enough.
Alhamdulillah.
And
Someone
then you
tell
want
the truth.
something better, so you go buy another one, and that gives you an excuse to throw out the previous one.
Right? It sits in their wardrobe for how long before you give it fi sabilillah? Huh? How long?
6 months.
At least. Minimum 6 months. Minimum, if not more, because why? I bought it when I was in an emotional situation. So there's an emotional attachment to it. I'm emotionally attached to saying it's completely useless for me. Completely useless for me, but I'm attached because I was in a state. I was in a particular state when it happened. So I need to break away from that. That's the dhikr of Allah. That's the companionship of Allah. That's knowing that Allah can do whatever He does. And then the practice of getting things that I need. Not that I want or because it's on sale. No. Because I need it. Once I need it, yeah, it's alright, have it. Get it. Get the best one if you've got the money. Alhamdulillah. But don't get the worst one if it's just because it's on sale. If you need it, get it. Use it. So that means if you're keeping things more than 6 months, by the way, you're bucking the trend. And that's the point. When you get that thing, make sure it's good quality if you can afford it, keep it and use it. One good thing I read somewhere was that every year, go through your closet and whatever you haven't worn in that year, give it free sabilillah. Right? Give it free sabilillah. If you haven't worn it once at least, then it means that it's no use to you. No matter how much you're attached to it emotionally, it's not useful. And it's really, in the end, it's israf. And it ends up being impermissible in that sense. So we've got to think to ourselves, this thing that I'm doing, what's the consequence of it? I'm going shopping. Why am I going shopping? Is it because I'm bored? Is it because I'm frustrated? Is it retail therapy? Is it because I need something? If I want to do something fi sabilillah, then I go and I buy the normal clothes that I buy at the normal shop, if it's Coach or Dolce or Polo or Target or Best and Less or whatever, and I get that new thing and I give it to someone with the tag without the price tag on it. That's fi sabilillah if I want to do the shopping. But I find out the person who's needy first, what they need, because that's the accountability, asking, what does that person need first, and I go and get the best of what I have of that thing. One Jewish man tells a story when the bushfire happened in the Blue Mountains. You know, they were asking for people because people lost everything. And then there was some connection between a Muslim organisation and a Jewish organisation, and the people made a link. And then he goes, look, I just need a pair of pants and a shirt, size blah blah blah. And then the Muslim lady said, no worries, I'll bring them to you. She went to the shops, got him a whole new wardrobe of that size shirt and that size. But the guy's crying for like 3 days on the Facebook and whatever, saying how awesome it was. I didn't know that Muslims were like that, etc., etc. That's fi sabilillah. That's fi sabilillah. So that's the way that the believer approaches using their money. That's the way the believer approaches using their money. Okay? And that's the way the believer approaches making decisions in their life. What are the consequences? Am I going to benefit in this life and the next? Am I going to benefit just in this life? Which is alright. It's alright to benefit in this life. I need a car. I need a good car. What's my job? Oh, I'm a rep. I drive around to all different places in Sydney or New South Wales. I need a good car. There's no point getting a bomb and it's always breaking down, a lemon, and I have to ring this and that. It's a disaster. It's a disaster. But yet, on the other hand, I don't need a car. Everyone's in my family's got cars. I catch the train. I live next to my work. Whatever. Different story. It's a different scenario. So I've got to consider what I'm doing. Or like the guys that ride motorbikes. That's it. Time's limited. If you're on a motorbike, no matter how good a rider, you're going to get knocked off sooner or later. That's the statistics. I'm not making it up. It used to be when I was young, if you had a high-powered motorcycle over 700 cc's, 3 months. It was 3 months before you had a serious major accident. 3 months. That's what the statistic. I don't know what it is now, but that was like in the 90s. Because all the young guys, all my mates, and we used to do that, but we had no idea about the din. So, what are the consequences? What's it going to be? Or if you're going to do a high-risk activity and you're going to injure yourself, what's the consequences? How's it going to be for me if I bust my ankle, la samah la qaddar Allah, or my knee, or my hip? How's the rest of my life going to be? How's the rest of my life going to be? Or if I smoke those cigarettes, or do the bong, what's it called? Argile, right? If I do the argila and what's my, or the puff, and what's that new one they got, vape, right? If I vape it, what's the state of my lungs going to be? And later on, when I'm however old, what's the condition of my health going to be? How am I going to be able to walk with my kids, inshallah, my grandkids, and play with them and whatever else? So that's the type of things that we should be thinking. I know when you're young it's hard to think a bit long term. That's really the reality of it. That's the reality of how we should be thinking long term to the akhirah. In other words, on the day of judgment, where is this going to go in my pan? On the right side or the left side? Which side's it going to be? The good or the bad? Is it beneficial or detrimental? Once I start doing that and thinking about the consequences and stopping myself, bi'idhnillah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by saying, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem first and foremost, then I'll be able to control my own life, bi'idhnillah, and get on that path. Wa sallallahu ala sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi sallam. Are there any questions about any of those things? No.
With the evil eye, you post things on social media, but you do your al-Haddad anyway. Doesn't that protect what you post anyway? Or?
So the question is about the evil eye and posting things on social media about oneself. Like, why are we posting? Go back to the question. What's the reason of posting? What are we trying to do? Like, do you go tell people about the good, like you woke up for tahajjud? Do you go tell people, I woke up for tahajjud? Oh, I spent half an hour reading the Qur'an yesterday. So what's the reason of posting? Whatever, I don't know what the reason is, but I'm asking you, you've got to know what the reason of what you're posting is. That's the first and foremost thing, as we said. Then secondarily, you've got to think of the consequences. You know, like the posting of food, I don't know if people do that still, is that still popular? Goodness. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know what people are going through. I saw a guy one time when I was in the mid-city there, the inner city. He's begging on the street, he's sitting in the gutter. I can't tell, what's the matter with you? It's a white guy. He goes, oh, I'm begging for money. I said, what do you mean you're begging for money? He said, I'm on the dole and I can't, it doesn't get me going for 2 weeks. I mean, you're in the gutter, man. Just come out of the gutter. It's dangerous to sit there. So people are in all sorts of situations. They might have faced social media, but the guy can't buy bread. And then we're putting up photos, and we're believers. We believe in Allah Azza wa Jalla on the last day, the Prophet in the last day, and we're bidding. In the Imam Shafi'i, it's haram to have silverware or gold-plated ware, hence, you know, forks, knives, trays. You know how people put those display units. It's haram to have those things, even gold-plated, because what if a poor person comes and says, wait a minute, this person's got, I can't eat and my family's dying, my kid's sick, whatever, and this person, they're just flaunting it in my face, putting gold-plated silverware and cutlery and whatever else up in my face. Yeah, when one of the Imams from Hadramaut, Imam Bakr al-Adni, the original one, al-Aidarus, when he went to Medina and Mecca, he took all the gold out of the masjid and he gave it to all the poor people. He took it out because he said, this is what he's doing. What's the matter with you? Like the people that are coming there are poor, and the people that live around it are poor. How can you decorate the masjid of Allah or the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ with gold and the people that can't eat? Alright, if everyone was full like in the time of Umar ibn Abdul Aziz, or a different story. But that wasn't the case. Maybe it's a different story. So that's what we've got to consider. That's what we've got to think about. Now, if you're posting yourself at a class to encourage people to attend, that's one thing. If you're posting something amazing, I don't know. You got to work it out. I didn't grow up in that generation, so I don't really understand how to use social media. That's not how I use it. You with me? So you guys are from that generation, and you understand what it is. Think of why you're doing it and the consequences of what you're doing it. And in terms of the awrad, it doesn't necessarily, it may not stop the evil eye, it may just khaffif, it may just decrease the intensity of the evil eye. So, and it's from Allah anyway. وَمَا هُمْ بِضَارِّينَ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ. That they won't detriment anyone except by the by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah may let you have that thing because it's beneficial for you in some way, or it's going to protect you from a greater harm in another way or something like that. So you need to be careful. You need to be careful. And then don't forget, you're telling people who you are and what you think and what your philosophy is and you know what your belief structures are and all those things. People you don't even know when you do that. So you've got to be careful about what you're telling the world about yourself. Tamam? It's a good question. No. Any other questions about anything else? Tfaddal.
If the restaurant just has is halal certified, just the meat, not the restaurant, is that fine? But they don't tell them.
Well, the halal certification of restaurants is kind of a new phenomenon.
Yeah.
So just saying that they do things in a particular way. But if you're satisfied that the food's halal, then you know, like we said, as long as the doubt is removed from your mind, then it's jaiz, inshallah.
And then what about fish and chip shops?
You got to be careful with fish and chip shops because they use like Chico rolls and other like dim sim type things that have animal fat and whatever else in them. So you got to be careful. First you have the oil, but most of them use canola or cottonseed because the animal fat oils are more expensive. It's cheaper and they're easier to get rid of. But you just got to be careful about what they're putting, what the other products are. And if it's on the grill, you got to be careful that they're not doing burgers and things like that are halal. Then if they send it through that little machine like the oven, they do like oysters Kilpatrick and all these different things that have bacon bits and stuff. So you just got to try. Like it's not easy. It's not an easy thing, but you got to be careful. Most of the time with fish shops, they do the fish battering and deep frying in one deep fryer, and you know the prawns and all the other stuff in another. So generally, you can even if they've got that other stuff, ask them, do you put the dim sims and the Chico rolls and all that into the one with fish? Generally they don't because it changes the flavour of the fish. That way you can get fish and avoid the other things. That's generally the case. But you just got to be. Back in the day there was fish and chip shops, which is just fish and chips. Now they have to diversify and have hamburgers and whatever else and whatever else.
And I should just trust them. That's what, like if they say like I'll use this oil, I should just trust them.
It's up to you if you trust them or you don't trust them. You know, it's up to you. Like and don't forget the thing about halal. It's becoming popular because there's a lot of money in it. Yeah. So I went last time I saw the restaurant on the internet. I rang them up. The good old rang them up. So I got a takeaway order. Then when I went there, I saw the lady. I wasn't relaxed. I don't know if it's halal or not halal. I wasn't relaxed, and when I took it and I ate it, I threw it away. I was like, no, this lady's lying to me. That's what I felt. Maybe it's halal. So then I said to myself, my own policy is, if a Muslim tells me, I'll believe him, no worries. If a non-Muslim tells me or someone looks like they're a non-Muslim, I want to ask them which butcher they get it from. Which butcher? And the other time we asked them, they go, oh, Auburn. Everyone's going to say Auburn. What else are you going to say? You know, so you got which butcher? If they don't know, that means they're not telling the truth. In my book, maybe they are, maybe they don't know. But let's not be naive, all right? Don't we invoice people and we pay, they're going to have... I used to back in the day, before it was more popular, before halal was as popular as I used to say, oh, where do you get your meat from? Well, don't you have an invoice? They didn't have an invoice. I never used to. That's how I used to be. But back in the day, it was probably 10% halal. Now, mashallah, it's probably 70-80% of the meat is halal. The chicken and the lamb and that. So you got to satisfy yourself as to the halalness, so to speak, of whatever it is you're putting into your body. You have to have your own standards. Some of the mashaykh, like Shaykh Nuh, for example, he only eats like smoked salmon and certain things. So you've got to make your own standards for yourself, and you've got to stick by those standards so that you're comfortable that whatever you're eating is halal. Abu Bakr Allahumma arda anhu, he one time he ate something and he had a doubt and he stuck his finger down his throat. And I used to know brothers used to do things like that, mashallah. That's how their taqwa was. Because they heard Abu Bakr Allahumma arda anhu did that, and they, No, sorry, he was first.
I was just going to say, so if there's any sort of doubt, it becomes halal.
Well, it's got to be a doubt that's like you might have a doubt, oh, this person's not telling me the truth. Then they show you the receipt, for example. So it's not a doubt that can be azal, as they say, that can be dispelled by information. It's a doubt that once you've got all the information, you're like, nah, I'm not comfortable, this doesn't feel right. Then it's haram for you to eat if you don't feel comfortable. You know what I mean?
Once if a guy asked, can you see a halal certificate? It says halal weapon shop. He points to the Qur'an on the wall and goes, that's my halal certificate.
What?
Like, alright, bye.
It's up to you. Like you might be satisfied with that. So Hajj was saying that someone asked to see the halal certificate of a person, and he's a Muslim, and he said to you, there's my halal certificate. I would be satisfied myself. I would be satisfied with that. That's a pretty big statement. You know what I mean? But it's the person, how they look, what they say, what they act, how you feel about the thing. That's what it comes back. It's up to you. It's a subjective standard. It's not an objective standard. In other words, it's not a general standard that, oh, that's it, there it is. No, you have to feel comfortable. If you don't, then don't eat. No.
This might be a bit controversial, but did Abu Talib die as a kafir or as a Muslim?
Well, the question is about Abu Talib, the uncle of the Prophet ﷺ. It's pretty clear that he died as a disbeliever, non-believer. There are some riwayat, some of the scholars say that, but that's not the majority opinion. Some say that he did say it, but the hadith is sarih, يعيروني العرب. The Arabs, they'll talk about me and say the only reason I did it is because I was scared. So, but I've heard some scholars say that, but that's not the majority opinion. The majority opinion. What difference does it make anyway? What difference? It doesn't make a difference. But busy yourself with something that's beneficial. Not saying that's just point of philosophy and talking and argumentation to see who's smart. See the guys that argue about that? Ask them what shurutu salat are. Ask them the preconditions. They won't even know. Ask them how many shaddat in the Fatiha or al-Tahiyyat. They won't even know. They won't know. They won't have no clue. Ask them what the najasat are. They won't know. They're just, spin artists or something like that. Whatever words you like to use. What's the word? They're those people, bro. See those people? So stay away from things like that. It doesn't benefit you. So we finished that one, huh? About the dumu'. Then let him refrain if one wishes to engage in activity. Beautiful. All right, any other questions about any of those things or anything else that you can think of? No, you can't ride a scooter. It's not good for you. All right. Anything else that you wanted to mention or you wanted to ask about? الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على خير الأنام وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم يا أرحم الراحمين حمدا برحمتك الواسعة يسلمون بالحاتم وبعد ما تثبت أقدامنا على الصراط المستقيم يا أرحم الراحمين نسألك أن تنفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما واجعلنا من الذين يستمعون القول ويتبعون أحسن واجعلنا من الذين يتبعون سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد عليه أفضل الصلاة وأزكى التسليم حسن الاتباع ونسألك يا أرحم الراحمين أن ترفع درجات مشايخنا وتعيد علينا من بركاتهم وأنوارهم وسرورهم وأنوارهم وأسرارهم وعلومهم وحكمتهم يا أرحم الراحمين وتجعلنا فينا ومعهم يا أكرم الأكرمين ونسألك يا أكرم الأكرمين أن تكرمنا كما أكرمت عبادك الصالحين وأن ترفع درجاتنا كما رفعت درجاتهم وأن تفتح علينا فتوح العارفين واجعلنا من الذين يتقربون إليك بك ونسألك تجعلنا من الذين لا يستأنسون إلا بك ولا يصاحبوا إلا إليك وإياك يا أرحم الراحمين نسألك يا أكرم الأكرمين أن تكرمنا وأن توفقنا وأن تيسر أمورنا وأن تغفر لنا وأن تغفر لوالدينا ولوالدينا والذين سبقونا بالإيمان وأن ترد أمة محمد عليه أفضل الصلاة وأزكى التسليم إلى دينك ردا جميلا وتكفي شر الظالمين وتصلح أمور المسلمين. Ya Allah, we ask you to forgive us and forgive our sins and elevate our status in this life and the next and accept us, Ya Arhamar Rahim, accept our deeds and our intentions, Ya Allah. We ask you, Ya Arhamar Rahim, to bless us and make so those people that have notice of you in this world and make so those people that think about consequences before they act and make so those people who are detached from their emotions so that they're not the servants of their emotions and that they obey you and not their emotions, Ya Allah. We ask you to elevate us above that lowly state, Ya Allah. We ask you to give us the purification from that condition and from that state. Ya Allah, we ask you to make so those people that are enlightened by La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, make it the last words that we have and we pronounce from this world, Ya Allah. Ya Allah, we ask you to make this majlis, this gathering mubarak, and to put barak in the lives that allowed us to sit in this and benefit from this majlis. بخير ولطف وعافية ولا حضرة النبي بالسر الفاتحة.